Welcome, Spencer. I am so excited for you to share your unicorn journey with us as a grant writer. I can't wait to dive in, but first, just welcome. I'm so excited to talk to you today. Awesome. Okay, so let's go back kind of to the beginning. You have had this dream of becoming a grant writer since 2013. Why this dream? What drew you to grant writing?
Yeah, so when I was in college, I was doing a technical writing degree, bachelor's in technical writing, and in the second last to last semester of my college degree, one of my professors required that we do a 120-hour internship, and I decided to do an internship with a grant writer because it sounded intriguing to me.
Oh,
And when I did it with her, I was like, whoa, I can help people with writing, like help, people like get funding and all that. It just blew my mind. So yeah, that was what began that journey.
I love that. It's kind of the clarity that I was always searching for in college and never got. I never had that light bulb moment. So I am so jealous and envious of people who do. So it's so cool. And then also it's really neat that you even had a grant writer to do that 120-hour internship with. So many people that we talk to have no idea what grant writing is and have never interacted with it. So it's really cool that as a part of your degree you were exposed to someone who was a grant writer in real life.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, she was really successful too, which was another point of selling for me. I was like, wow, I want to do that. So
Absolutely. Oh, I love it. Okay. So, thinking back to when you first joined the collective, which was about 9 months ago. So, it's been a while since 2013. What did success look like for you when you first joined the collective?
like for me, success just, it kind of looked like, I would say, just holding on to the dream that I had. And then as I first got into the collective, I basically just started to reach out to people, put my name out there, create a website, that type of a thing. So I had to start with little successes and kind of build my way up.
Absolutely. Yeah, we all have to celebrate the many things along the way. We can't eat the elephant all at once. How much of that is true today in terms of what success looks like? Or in a different way to put that is, what's kind of your next big goal? What would success look like for you in the next 3 to 6 months?
So currently, I'm trying to attract new clients. So I am leveraging LinkedIn to do that. We did a really amazing training on LinkedIn in the collective, and it really left a huge impact on me where I was like, wow, like LinkedIn could be used in like a really phenomenal way to attract some new clients. And so I've just been connecting with a ton of people from the collective and just, like saying, hey, do you need some help? Can I assist you in any kind of way? And I've had some pretty good responses out of that. So
Hmm.
to me, success would just look like having at least, I would say, like a side hustle of a few clients to bring in some extra supplementary income. So yeah.
I love it. Awesome. Okay, so one of the things that Meredith and I really admire and appreciate about you is your willingness to take the educational content and adapt it to how you would like to implement it. I think oftentimes we get so scared that we have to follow it letter by letter, or we have to, go from A to B to C to D. And you really adapted the curriculum and made it your own, especially when you got to cold calling instead of cold emailing. And so I'm just wondering if you can talk a little bit about. First, we should congratulate you on your two clients that you are working with right now. But on this journey
Thank
to
you.
getting to those two clients, you took a lot of different turns. Can you talk about how you adapted to make sure that the outreach was working for you?
Yeah, so when it comes to outreach with potential clients, I feel like informational interviews in the sense of like, okay, I'm going to email you and reach out to cold contacts because a lot of us, I feel like that's where we start, and that's where I was starting at least. And so for me, my personality doesn't really go along with cold emailing. So I just one day I was like, maybe people would appreciate the personal nature of a phone call.
Yeah.
And I started to have like crazy amounts of success. There was one time I called, and within like an hour, I think I had 5 or 6 informational interviews, you know?
Wow.
So it's just like, and I think it's because of, in my opinion, I think it's because of the pandemic. People are longing for that connection. And so between that and me just liking to talk to people rather than just send out a random email, that was why I approached it that way.
Yeah.
It's for the same reason I've been leveraging LinkedIn for subcontracting, because I just feel like you have to know yourself when it comes to this type of thing. You have to be like, okay, what works for me, and then let's go for that.
Yes, it's so true. And yeah, again, it's just one of those things that we really appreciate about you because you've also been really vulnerable and open in the community group, encouraging others to use it, adapt it to best fit your personality. And that's where the momentum can sometimes lie. And it was 100% true with you in cold calls. It's just very cool. So,
Yeah.
looping back to the beginning of the conversation, you've wanted to be this grant writer since 2013. You have now are under contract with 2 clients, which is incredible in 9 months. So congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah. How does it feel to know you've wanted this dream and now begin to live into that reality? What's it like?
Oh man, that is the money question, isn't it? You know, it feels. I want to say amazing, but I feel like that's an overused word. It feels vindicating, I think, is the best way to put it. It's like I had spent so long trying to figure this out, hanging on for dear life to this dream, and then I mean, it still doesn't feel real. So that's the other thing about it. It's very surreal,
Mm,
and it's also very gratifying, validating. It's like, okay, things can happen if you just keep trying. If you keep pushing forward, things can happen if you keep trying and believe in yourself. So it feels wonderful. It feels just like so beautiful to be able to connect with people and to be like, yeah, I can help you out, you
mhm.
know?
Oh, I love that. Very exciting. So, one of the other things that you've been really open about in the community group, and Meredith and I again just admire about you, is that this journey hasn't always been sunshine and rainbows, right? It is a journey that's really, like you said, when you were clinging on to the dream, that's required you to maintain focus, even in the midst of some health crises. So, I'm curious if you want to share a little bit about what your journey has looked like as you've navigated multiple different priorities in your life, health being one of them, as you moved forward this dream. Like, how did you keep this dream going while also dealing with life?
That is a difficult question, but I feel what kept me hanging on to it more than anything is knowing myself. I feel like is probably the biggest thing. Knowing myself, that I know how to write, and having that feedback given to me from many different people over the years. So that kept the flame alive. Choosing to see a therapist, and to practice self care, and to realize that it's okay. It's like to normalize putting a dream on the shelf and saying, just because this dream is on the shelf right now does not mean that it's dead. It means that it's on
Mhm.
hold. And there's a difference. So like I feel that sometimes people give up on their dreams because life can get very depressing and life can be filled with anxiety and difficulties with trauma, as it was in my case, because my actual diagnosis was complex PTSD. And so, like, I feel that it can be so easy to say, that's not possible. I'm too depressed, I'm too anxious, I'm too whatever. But for me, it was just like, okay, I'm going to prioritize my mental health. I'm going to see people to help me. I'm going to try to connect with others, and just really lean into that self care. And as a
Yeah.
result, you know, combining that with setting that on the shelf and just letting it be on hold for now, I was able to pick it up later once I started to get better. So, yeah.
It's really quite beautiful. And I have to say, personally, talking to a man about this is so different than talking. I have this conversation often with my girlfriends. So I just want to thank you for not only being vulnerable and open, but also doing so in a way that opens up more men to join that conversation in a really loving and graceful and non-judgmental way. One of the things that I want to talk about more is what your definition of self care looks like. I think it can be an overused word, especially as you know, therapizing or as we get more commonplace with words in therapy. I think that we can greenwash a little bit, but in a different way, the word self care. And so I'm just curious about what self care looks like for you and how it shows up maybe before and now as you build this dream.
But yeah, so to answer your question, yeah, so I have that philosophy of do what you can, with what you have, and that's going to vary from day to day. So there's that. Also, connecting regularly with other people that care about you, and that can look like phone calls, in person hangouts, whatever. So, connection is super key. Seeing a mental health professional if necessary, which definitely has been necessary for me, especially the last couple of years. Um, I feel like self care, like, to your point, it can be a very much overused word, but I feel like the greatest gift of self care I ever gave to myself was going to a trauma therapist and dealing with my
Mm,
baggage. That was the greatest gift of self care I ever gave to myself. And it's actually why I feel that I am where I am now. Yeah, beyond that, like just healthy habits, exercise, good sleep, meditation, that type of
mhm.
stuff. So,
I love it. As you know, one of our values is soul care at Learn Grant Writing. And we struggled with this conversation of self care because we didn't want to, in one word, right, communicate just, um, like going to the spa as a quick example. What I love about how you phrased it, the greatest gift was giving myself a therapist. Wow, what strong language, first. But second, it's not easy. The work of seeing a trauma therapist is not easy. And
oh no.
so, what I love about this is that self care can be honestly brutal and ass kicking and lay you on the floor sometimes. And it is still one of the best things that we could do for ourselves. And so, I really love how you defined it.
Yeah, self care. I feel like some people want to make it all glittery and rainbowy and feel good, but sometimes self care does not feel good. Sometimes the best things that you can do for yourself feel like crap, like at, at least in the short term, anyway.
Mhm.
But in the long term, to me, the difference between like the self care, like we hear on like maybe TikTok or whatever, right, versus legitimate, actual, for real self care is what is the long term effect,
Mhm.
what's the long term effect, and if it's healing and peace and greater emotional health, that's true self care, in my
Yeah.
opinion.
Oh, I'm with you. That should be the new definition of self care everywhere. I love that. Thank you so much again for your vulnerability and sharing a little bit about your journey. Um, if there, if someone else was struggling with um, any series on the scale of mental health crises, and they're wanting to pursue a dream, what advice would you give them? I know that you've put together an amazing resource list for our collective members of mental health resources, but if there's like two things that people could go do today to help them achieve their dreams and self-care in a way that allows their health to be prioritized, what would they be?
Oh, that's a good question. So I would say number one, find a daily mindfulness practice that you can lean into, whether that's meditation, whether that's intentional breathing, whether that, because one of the biggest hindrances to achieving your dreams when you have mental health issues is like, oh, I can't do this, or this is too overwhelming, or I'm too depressed, or I'm, whatever, insert whatever into those parentheses, right? But mindfulness gives you the ability to create space between those fears and those emotions and all that garbage that gets in your way. And for you to step back from it and to say, I think I can still do it anyway.
Mhm.
So I would say that is huge. Mindfulness is huge. And prioritizing connection, and that may require learning some additional social skills, that may require seeing a therapist to kind of figure a few gnarly things out. But I feel like if you can prioritize connection and have that support and have people to cheer you on,
Yeah.
and then in your personal space you can kind of take some space back and say, okay, like this is scary, but I got this. I can do this. And I'm going to take breaks if I need to, whatever that looks like. Those two things in combination, I feel like will empower just about anyone to do that.
Absolutely. Oh, sign me up. I'm there with you. Awesome. Okay, so what has been one of the most rewarding aspects of your grant writing journey so far?
I feel like one of the biggest things for me has been pushing beyond the anxiety, and saying, my brain is telling me that this is going to be like impossible and that people aren't going to want to hire me and that I'm just going to be a total screw up. But from the tools that I've learned in therapy and whatnot, I've learned how to say, I appreciate you, brain, like trying to protect me, whatever you're doing, but I'm just going to keep going anyway. And the fact that I've been able to, gain a couple of clients by pushing forward has been phenomenal. I feel like another thing that's been really cool. So I submitted a post in the collective saying, "Hey, like here's my website. Let me know what you think. Give me some feedback." And I got a lot of feedback, and some of it was kind of hard to read. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like is it really that like that? Like does it really need that much of a fix? But just learning to not take things personally as well, another thing I've learned, and just saying, like I don't have to implement every single thing, but I'm
Yes.
going to do it. And, as I've been reaching out for potential clients, people have been like, you have a beautiful website. And I'm like, yeah. So,
Criticized it. It was great. Oh, that's awesome. Oh, I love this. Okay, so what has been one of the most challenging aspects of your grant writing journey?
oh, you know, when it comes to like one of the most challenging things, I would say just like keeping up the belief that it is possible to financially sustain myself in the long term.
Yeah.
Because, like as we've discussed, with the mental health challenges I've had, they've kind of gotten in the way. And because of that, I haven't been the richest man in the world, right? So, like just challenging scarcity and poverty mindset and just being like, that was then.
Exactly. Oh, yeah, I think that's one of the hardest things that not only, as you just said, you're struggling with, but also one of the things that many members of the collective struggle with, many people in the world, but specifically people within the nonprofit sector, because the sector itself is ridden with scarcity mindset. And so we can get hit from multiple perspectives with that programming, that language. And so it's one of the things that obviously Meredith and I hammer a lot, but it's because we really want you to know and to believe in your bones that you can sustain yourself financially. You are deserving and abundant, whatever that looks like to you. But you're so right. Like it is something that it can rear its ugly head very often in this career and in this industry.
Definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so rapid fire questions so we can get to know you a little bit better. What is one word to describe?
Abundant.
Next vacation spot?
Ooh. Either New Zealand or Switzerland.
Oh, so good. Both of them. Okay, fiction or nonfiction?
Nonfiction.
What are you reading right now?
What am I reading right now? I am reading a book called The One Page Marketing Plan.
Nice. You are all in. Last TV show you binged.
The last TV show I binged, okay, don't judge me, but I Dream of Jeannie.
Are the replays which
Which streaming service is that on? I
yes,
believe it's on Prime.
I
Yeah.
love it.
hmm
Oh, so
Mm, I would say empathy. Yeah,
yeah, I would agree with
empathy.
that. I am just so thankful for you for this conversation, for your ability to show up vulnerably and yourself, not only in this space, but in the community group. I would love to take this opportunity to just thank you. We've had multiple people who have reached out for resources, and you've been so quick in the community to say, like, here's some resources for you, or here's an example of how I handled that situation, or, right, you are just there for people in the community so well. And so I'm just so thankful to you for all that you do, not only today, but in the community to make everyone's grant writing journey a little bit easier.
Thank you. Yeah, I feel like that's what the collect each other, lift each other up. So
It's awesome. Well, thank you so much, Spencer. It's been amazing to talk a little bit about your journey. Thank you so much for sharing, and we'll see you soon.